there are a lot of games that have come through to the PlayStation Network. And many of these games come through from Steam, some of them come from the Nintendo Switch, others actually come from the Xbox. And I think that there is a great deal of effort happening with the different platforms to actually bring this cross-play and the games that were once exclusive on one platform to another platform. And I think that this is a very good thing, especially for gamers. Now, one of the things that I've seen, especially in terms of your PlayStation Network subscription, is that you'll get a whole bunch of free games. But the one thing is that you'll actually find that a lot of the games will sit in your backlog for quite some time, doomed to remain there until you actually give a certain game a shot. Now, I've been trying to unearth the more interesting games that have been available on the PlayStation Network that have always been free to you, or they might have been free for a particular period of time that might be under your radar and you haven't had the opportunity to play them yet. There are definitely some gems, and the one gem that we found this particular month is a game that goes by the name of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Yes, I know it is a mouthful to say, but I will say that it is one of the gems that we've actually found. And today we are going to ask the question here on the Patch Network: why is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk a successor to the game called Jet Set Radio?
What's up, dog?
So, without further ado, let me actually get a little bit into the story of the game. So, the story kind of gives a bit of an anime feel in its nature. And I'll start it off like this. It starts off in a typical way, like what an RPG would actually start off. You find yourself in a jail cell. You don't know who you are. You don't know why you got there. But all we do know is that you are in a jail cell and you wake up to a point where somebody's breaking people out from this jail cell. We don't know why this guy's breaking people out. We don't even know why you are there. But we find out that your name is Fox. And while you are in this jail cell, this guy by the name of Trace is trying to break people out, and while he's doing so, he does you a solid and he breaks you out, even though you are not the main person that he was looking for. And while when your jail cell is actually open, you find that you have to follow this guy out, and this kickstarts the tutorial. In the tutorial, you basically taught the basics: how to jump, how to double jump, how to give yourself a boost, especially when it comes to the rockets that they give you, and eventually you get the main part of this game, which is your skates. And this sets the game apart to basically say this is not going to be your regular 3D game, but this is going to be one where you are actually able to use a certain mode of transport to get from point A to point B, and you're going to do so in the most coolest way ever. In this tutorial, you're basically learning how to jump, how to grind, how to basically slide until you actually get to the next area of the game. And the one thing that sets the game apart is basically how to do your graffiti. That is basically understanding the controls, which will set you up for the game later on. Now, once you've gotten the hang of the controls, what typically games do is that they will actually make you play a little bit of a boss fight. Now, you don't expect any action in terms of fighting within this game, but the game actually puts you in a situation where you have to fight against a couple of enemies, and it kind of gives you that feel already of what you're getting into. You're getting into a game that actually focuses around a lot of skating, a lot of tricks, but also there is a level of combat in it. Now, once you win this level, you go to the main cutscene and you eventually escape. When you escape this particular prison, what you find is you are so close to the exit, so close to being home free, but the unthinkable happens. Someone from the distance cuts your head off, and that's it. That's where basically the story starts. And we eventually wake up later on with our head replaced with a cybernetic head, and we go by the name of Red, and we've officially joined what we know as the Bomb Rush crew. So, once you've gotten through this point, you are now on a journey to get your head back. I told you this game is basically very much anime in theory or in terms of the storyline, but as far as other storylines could compare anime is the only thing I can think of where your main plot is to get your head back. So that's basically what the game is all about. So you need to basically get your head back from this guy by the name of DJ Cyber. He is the leader of one of the crews within New Amsterdam, and to get to him, you basically have to go through 5 other crews in order to actually fight him. Now, to get to them, you need to be able to defeat them in battle, which is basically being able to beat them in terms of how you do your tricks, in terms of how you are able to beat them either in getting the high score. So in doing so, you are also able to understand the past of your character and who Fox actually is, and basically who the person behind the mask of DJ Cyber actually is. Within the game itself, the game focuses a lot, and I'll say a lot, especially around the music. I'll say gameplay and music play so closely well together, especially in this game, where areas that you actually go into have a certain feel. Areas and crews that you're able to battle against have their own music, and that really sets the theme for the game itself. The music is totally out of this world. The composer of this game, in terms of the music, goes by the name of Hideki Nakamura. Now, you might not know him in terms of his name, but I'm sure the games that you have actually played, somewhere it will spark a little bit of an idea in terms of what he's played or what type of music that he's been playing, especially into the games themselves. A couple of games come to mind: Sega Rally, Daytona, and yes, I will say it, Jet Set Radio. He was basically one of the people who were behind the iconic soundtracks of Jet Set Radio. And for him to actually come into this game called Bomb Rush Cyberfunk actually shows how this game is so much of a successor from Jet Set Radio. And it is basically what we've needed all these years. The last Jet Set Radio came about 20 plus years ago, and we've been waiting for a remake. I mean, even Tony Hawk made a remake at some point in time, and those games were released roughly around the same time back in the PS1 era. The game, especially with the music, actually gives a lot of different genres, but mainly they are mostly upbeat, and they actually help the whole theme actually play out quite well. Now, each crew has their own sound, their own way of being identified, and that's what I really like about the game. In the same way that your characters on Tekken 3 had their own entrance music or their own stage music, is the same way that these crews have their own music that represents themselves. And I think that this game does that very well by focusing on the music. The lore behind the game, it's pretty much as simple as can be in terms of gaming wise. The town that you are in is a town called New Amsterdam, but it is in a futuristic time. And basically, New Amsterdam is pretty much run by different crews. Now, the main goal for every crew is to become what is known as All City. Essentially, All City means that they want to be able to take over the entire parts of New Amsterdam. And in this case, you are a new crew. You are one of the earliest crews from a humble beginning. It's only 3 of you at this point. But basically, in order for you to actually get your head back, you need to beat every single crew within the game. And for you to become what is known as All City, you basically need to be able to do that so you can actually challenge DJ Cyber at the end of the game. And what happens is that the only way that you can actually get audience with this particular crew, or any crew in particular, is you have to be able to get rep in the game. Now, your rep, you can earn it by challenging some of the crew members, basically putting your own graffiti on top of other teams' graffitis, and that will actually make it so that you are able to challenge the other people, especially in the different cities, as the different parts of the city, as much as you can. And you can also do tricks. You're able to dance. You're basically able to fight other people in different ways that the game allows you to do. Now, the thing about this is that it is as PG-13 as I would say, in the way that whenever you're fighting any crew members, there are always laws within the city. You're not allowed to kill anybody. You basically have to beat them in tricks or in your ability, and that is how you are able to get to beating a particular crew. Now, the game feels a whole lot like a bunch of different games, and I'll try to think of the most classic games that actually have the type of feel of it. But hear me out. What I would say is that this particular game gives you a feel off the bat like Jet Set Radio in terms of the way that it actually is developed, the look and feel, the animation style, and even basically what you're able to do to skate, to do graffiti, to go using rollerblades, skateboards, and all of that. It gives you the exact same feel, and it's basically an upbeat type of game. But what it also gives is a feel like Tony Hawk Pro Skater in many cases, in terms of the way that you're able to go around the city and how fluid it actually is. And also it has the attitude of SSX in terms of the type of people that you actually interact with. Now, if you see the characters that play on SSX, you know for a fact that everybody has their own characteristics, has their own mood, but basically that is what it also feels like. What I really like about this game is that it gives subtle honor, let me say it like that. It gives subtle honor to one of my favorite anime, and that is Ghost in the Shell. So much so that there is a robot-like transportation device which really bears reference to a Tachikoma, and I really think that they actually gave that nod, especially to the futuristic elements to the game, and that was really a nice thing to see. But that is something subtle that I actually picked up, especially within the game itself. So what other people have been thinking about the game, obviously off the bat, and I will keep saying this over and over again, is that this is a Jet Set Radio successor in many ways. An interesting fact is that Sega is looking to actually revive the series with Jet Set Radio 2 set to come out soon. We don't know when yet, but it is in the works apparently. Other people say that the game actually gets a bit repetitive, and I agree with them in that case, because once you've actually gone past the first 2 or 3 chapters, you kind of get the hint of what you need to do. The only thing that gets challenging is the different areas that you actually play in, how to actually get from one place where you need to tag to the next place. But it's all the same. You need to get rep, you need to challenge the crews, and you need to get a little bit more information about your past, and then go to the next level. That's basically how it goes. What we all have agreed upon, especially as the gamers of this game, is that the music is amazing. The music fits in so well that we really enjoyed how it actually plays out. But the other thing that we also agree on is that there are a lack of tricks, where in games like Tony Hawk, SSX, and all these other games, is that you'll be able to do a lot more tricks in terms of your abilities. You'll be able to do kickflips, you'll be able to do different types of tricks within the air, but this one seems like it limits you to like about 10 at most, depending on your mode of transport. And especially if you want to get high scores, especially if you want to be able to be competitive like some of us are, it kind of feels as though they could have just given us a little bit more tricks, especially in our bag. My review, personally, I really wish that they had an ability to give you a way of targeting your enemies. The one thing about this game is that whenever you're going around basically mastering your tricks, trying to tag places, it's easy, but now there's an element where some cases you actually have to fight a boss, and in doing so, when you're trying to fight the boss, you kind of lose them because you're going so fast from one point of the place to the next point, trying to make sure that you're able to get a trick or anything like that. But most of these enemies are flying, so you have to get them in the air, and to get to them is very difficult, and it is very fast paced, but you don't have a way of locking onto your enemy. That's what I think actually needs to be in the game to actually make it a little bit better. So once you actually get an idea of your controls, how to actually play it, it kind of requires you to be very skilled at finding your enemy, basically being able to knock them down in many cases. But apart from that, it's a subtle thing, because mainly the game is not about combat. The game is mainly about skills, it's mainly about basically being able to do tricks, getting from point A to point B, which is not that bad. The music is amazing. I really love the fact that it has an anime feel to it, but the only thing is that the twist leading up to the end becomes so obvious that it's not a situation where you're completely blown away. But I give kudos to the team for being able to write a good story that actually makes you want to play it, and the vibe of the game is actually really amazing in any case. Why this game personally is worth your time is because you can finish it in about a weekend. It's not that long. It's about 10 hours or so. And if you want to platinum it or get 100%, you're probably looking at about 20 to 24 hours, depending on how you play. The game is also very good in how it plays in terms of the theme, the way the music is. It's something that is very relaxing. It's something that you actually sit down, you enjoy, and you say, I actually really enjoyed that song. Let me find it on Spotify. Let me find it on YouTube and let me actually play it. I think that the way that the game actually plays out is actually very comforting as well. So if you're looking for something to play which isn't too serious of a game, but you actually really enjoy music and how certain things gel together, especially within game, I would say that this is the perfect one for you to play. So while it's still available, before it disappears with a bunch of other games that you might be looking to download, get yourself that copy of, I was about to say Jet Set Radio, but get yourself that copy of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk and just have a little bit of a good time and give that one a shot. Anyways, that's been me. My name is Thomas. Thank you for joining the Passion Network. And this was our review on Jet Set Radio again. But this is our review on Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Now you can go to other videos of ours where we basically go through a bunch of different games as well. We've gone through Road 19. We have also gone through Sifu and a couple of other games like Dave the Diver as well. I believe Dave the Diver. I don't remember. But anyways, definitely give us a like, follow, share, and definitely come back for more of our gaming content. Thank you and goodbye.